feedback from New Yorkers and people around the world that are in disbelief. How is this still happening? They ask, how is this industry still operating? So, not just for Ryder, for years, for decades, there's been abuse, death, horses dropping dead, horses crashing, people almost dying.
It can be done. Charter revision. Eric Adams is in control of that. His administration could put it up for a vote, initiative and referendum. I am strong enough of a believer that the people will vote it down. Let the people decide. They decided on term limits. They decided on ranked choice voting through initiative and referendum. I trust the people to make the right decision and let both sides go out there and argue their points to the people. And I guarantee you the TWU Local 100 members are not going to be enthusiastic arguing about that initiative and referendum. And I think our cause will be the cause that prevails. Let the people decide in an initiative and referendum.
What's going to come up then?
Well, during this mayoral race, the charter revision can put questions on the ballot. The question is, will Eric Adams have the couillons to do that?
Right.
Because he doesn't seem to want to offend anybody now.
Right.
But in this case, he's not
going to do it.
All he's got to do is put it on the ballot, let both sides take it to the people, and let the people decide when they go to vote for a new mayor and a new city council in November. Let the people
So
be
you're
heard.
counting on him to put it on there?
No.
That's not how it would
You can
work.
do something. You can go and testify like we did at the Charter Revision Commission hearings. You can go. They have hearings in all the boroughs many times. Go and bring this up. And if enough people do it, it'll get on the ballot. So that's what you have to do. Everybody can do their part. Don't attack the people that are trying to do bolting and then injuring people and property. So it's done on a regular basis. It happens in New York City. A lot of times we don't even realize when it happens, but it's a very dangerous situation. Tell me something. What horse, what animal would welcome being in traffic in Manhattan and breathing the fumes in all kinds of weather? That alone, the fact that Ian McKeever falsified Ryder's birth certificate, this is what he's on trial for. He's being tried because he falsified records, and he was the symbol of the industry. He was president, his brother?
He was the president of the Horse and Carriage Association for many, many years. So essentially, Ian McKeever ran the horse carriage business, and now the man wants to play dumb. He's just a babe in the woods that didn't know that his elderly horse had cancer and he was working him to death. This is the level of depravity that we're dealing with here. And the man laughs in court and snickers and jokes and thinks it's a big joke.
They know they can get away with it, and so far he's gotten away with it. He hasn't been even to trial. The lawyers trying to stall until this goes away, and that's a tactic.
Animal cruelty laws are weak. He might just get a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Well, this question is really good because there's supposed to be Dr. Cook who is supposed to come out every 4 weeks and check the horses. What is happening on that front?
Not only that, we use Blackjack as an example. He so rarely comes here that we've got documentation where he says that he's examined horses through a teleconference.
Doesn't even come in person.
You cannot examine
because he told
a
me
horse.
that he comes every
I
4
would need
weeks
the
or
proof.
so.
Every 4 weeks, there's so many horses, and it's not just him. Dr. Camilo Sierra, who is a disgraced vet, who has multiple fines and suspensions from the horse racing industry for falsifying vet records of horses, illegally drugging horses. This is a disgraced vet. That's their other vet, okay? So they have 2 vets. Dr. Gabriel Cook has approved horses that we have found to be lame, that he then agreed. After all of that, and once their bodies wear out, then they're sent to slaughter. This is the kind of criminal operation they're running, which essentially is run like a carriage horse mafia. That's what they are. They're a carriage horse mafia, and they're backed by TW Local 100. They're getting money under the table. Yeah, Donnie Moss. Who are literally suffering every day. Dropping dead on the streets, in the stables, crashing into cars, being worked in pain. This is criminal abuse. So Mike can speak to what he has seen with, being a trainer for decades and seeing how bad off these horses are. What?
While he's talking.
Me? Hold it?
Yeah, but I have to take some photos too.
Okay. Just talk.
Yeah. Just speak.
Well, just to continue on what Aditi was saying, just like when I do find horses that are literally, clearly dead lame. When we talk dead lame, we're talking horses that, in layman's terms, horses limping. these horses called a head nod, and that's because of pain. The city's response, for the most part, is their veterinarian, who I don't believe exists right now, because for the last 3 months, that position has been open on both ZipRecruiter and Indeed for the person to monitor the horses, to monitor the stables, the horses, the registrations, the paperwork, the vaccinations, the veterinary yearly annual exams. There's nobody right now working in the city of New York for the city of New York.
Well, the only vets are the ones that gave Ryder a clean bill of health, that work for the owners. So there's no vet that the DOH has. No oversight.
Their terminology for letting horses work in the park lane is serviceably sound.
Right.
So there's an acceptable amount of pain in their eyes that's allowed, that we see as just cruel and criminal. In harness racing, where I came from, when a horse is as lame as these horses are in this park, the state veterinarian will scratch them, fine, and suspend the trainer for putting the horse on the racetrack. There are ramifications for their actions. There are none here in the city. I've been doing this exactly 2 years now. When I first met you here, I've documented, I don't know how many hundreds of horses. I don't know how many we reported. We'd have some good results. But the problem is when you get one off the streets, they end up going somewhere to die. They don't take them and repair them. They send them back to Amish
Even
country.
when we have sanctuary and rescue homes for them, they will never release a horse to these homes. They would rather sell them to slaughter. And in fact, last May, we helped rescue a horse that was being sent to slaughter. Ending up in a slaughter auction. This was a lame horse in terrible shape from years of neglect. They threw this horse away like garbage, was about to be slaughtered, but a good Samaritan in the auctions came forward, and we were able to save this horse's life and put him in a sanctuary. And this horse was in such bad shape after years of being a carriage horse. Needed vet care that wasn't given, was in pain, is crippled, is psychologically abused. So this is what's going on every day, and it was the extraordinary circumstances of Ryder's footage of his abuse and condition generating worldwide outrage. That's the only reason the DA did prosecute. It's very rare that there's any accountability. So I like to give Curtis Sliwa a chance to speak, because he's been speaking out about this issue for a long time as well.
So, well, as you know, I'm best known for being down in the subways, and that's where the TWU Local 100 is strongest. So I stop, I talk with the motormen, the conductors, the token booth clerks, the maintenance men and women, the track repairmen, and I ask them, are you aware that in your union are horse carriage riders? They have no idea. One of my guardian angels is a trustee in the union. They never discuss this. You would say to yourself, now that the president has been swapped out because of sexual harassment charges, they have a new president, my mission is going to be to lobby the men and women of the TWU Local 100 who are not supporting animal abuse. When you talk to them, they have no idea that these men and women are members of their union. They've been kept in the blind by their leadership. And it's time that the TWU Local 100 stick to defending their members from being attacked in the subways and on the buses, and also defend the horses who are being attacked, as we saw in this case, and in other cases by drivers who obviously are impervious to the life and the welfare and the quality of life of these horses. Other cities, as Adita said, third world cities, have changed from having horse-drawn carriages to having electric carriages. How is it a third world city can do that, but New York City declares that it can't because tourists come here to ride the horse-drawn carriage? I don't know of any tourist who comes to New York City and says, my purpose in being in New York City is to be carried by a horse-drawn carriage. That is specious, that is nonsense, and it needs to end. And when I'm mayor, unlike someone previously who had promised to end this but never did, this will be ended. This is barbaric, this is inhumane, and this must cease and desist, because other cities have led, and New York City always prides itself on leading in these instances, and yet we're following. And we are the ones who are most arcane, most primitive, most barbaric towards these beautiful animals, these horses who need to be able to frolic. They fraternize with one another. They need space to romp. Look at them. Their horses' heads are down in the asphalt. They're suffering. They're depressed. If we saw a human being like that, we would say, what's the problem? Is everything okay? But it's okay for a horse to have to live like this and be enslaved to a horse carriage driver just for the love of money? No, that must end. And TWU Local 100, their members, it'll be my mission to inform them, Bob, because they really don't know. They have no idea that they're protecting this barbaric behavior on the part of horse carriage drivers and the owners of these stables, which house them in primitive conditions.
Yeah. And what do you make of the fact that the speaker doesn't want to hear it, doesn't want to bring it to a vote?
Well, as Robert Holden pointed out, this is unfortunate because I thought this is a democracy. We have elected city council people who should be able to put bills forward for a vote, up or down on the floor, and not warehouse bills. Nobody ever gave the speaker that much power. They seized it, they took it, and we didn't elect the speaker. She was elected by her constituents in Southeast Queens. She is just one of many council people, and let the people be heard. But right now, it's clear there are members in the council who consider themselves conservatives, Republicans, those who are liberals, progressives, socialists, who seem to be joined together to perpetuate this barbaric behavior because of the fear of a union not supporting them for re-election. There are some things in life that are more important than raising money for re-election. Because as Mahatma Gandhi said, and I repeat it everywhere I go in this city, a society that does not treat its animals well will not treat its human beings well. Look at our city, the homeless, the emotionally disturbed. We should take a page from Mahatma Gandhi. I think people on all sides of the political spectrum can respect that.
Yeah, and I also just want to point out the connection between Richard Davis, the former president of TWU Local 100. We have been speaking out for more than a year that there was credible accusations against female workers of terrible abuse, physical abuse, sexual harassment. It was ignored, okay? And now he finally was forced to resign. But meanwhile, he was kept in place by the leadership of TWU so that he could abuse and be a predator to other women workers there, all the while enabling and protecting abusers like Ian McKeever. It's abusers protecting other abusers in this really corrupt network that ties directly back into the city council. And we're very grateful for politicians of integrity like Bob Holden and the other sponsors. And it's a very bipartisan bill. We have socialists, we have like MAGA Republicans on board, not Bob, but like maybe Joanne Ariel, I don't know, it doesn't matter, but Republicans, socialists, conservative Democrats, run-of-the-mill Democrats, it's a bipartisan issue. This should have been done years and years ago, okay? So it's an embarrassment. So many people...
It could possibly block the result.
It's a local issue.
Introduced the bill because Mayor de Blasio will back it. And if the mayor backs it, he can get other council members to back it. And so when I introduced it, what happened? TWU...
Can you hold on a second? Can you please step back a little bit so we can take some photos?
TWU objected, and the mayor withdrew, Mayor de Blasio withdrew his support of the bill. Just like that, and it didn't happen. So this is a good example of elected officials committing, we had many elected officials in the city council today that said they would support Ryder's law, and they pulled their support. They filled out questionnaires to advocates. They said, yes, if I get elected, I'll do this, and then they didn't.
Yeah, we have
so that's what happens.
We have on paper enough support to pass this bill, but because of the union lobbying so hard against the council members who want to do the right thing but are afraid that they will be blacklisted by the incredible power unions hold, they are not signing on. and they're not speaking
By the
out.
way,
Even a council member who calls himself an animal rights activist, Justin Brannan, is a sellout, an absolute sellout, and is siding with the animal abusers.
Yeah, don't vote
You
for
can
Justin
quote me on
Brannan
that.
when he's running. Don't ever,
Absolutely,
whatever he runs
he
for.
doesn't deserve to hold office for calling himself and promising us
He
to
lies.
our face that
He
he will
lies.
support this, and then siding with the animal abusers. That's not okay. When we have promises from elected officials who use their supposed concern for animals to get elected and then turn their backs on the animals when they know that every day this abuse is continuing and they could help stop it, and they're not doing it. So, any other questions from TWU Local 100 and Adrian Adams and the City Council? This abuse is allowed to continue, and we absolutely have every reason to believe more criminal abuse is happening to many more horses every day, and it's being ignored. So specifically, we're calling out Speaker Adrian Adams' treatment. Their treatment is, if we find a lame horse who's in pain, they stick them in a tiny stall for a few weeks, and then they put them back out, or they send them to slaughter. That's what's going on. So I would think, I'd like to see the proof that Gabriel Cook is in person and not just on the phone talking to an owner and saying everything's okay. But regardless, these horses, he's only seen them in their stalls, right? He needs to see them when they're walking, when they're working. He needs to give, there's no tests happening. Questioned him, and he viciously whipped her from his carriage. And whipped her with his whip, and so apparently he was arrested. I don't have any more information than that, but I do think that there is a history of problems with Ian's horses, and we can only imagine. The only reason the truth came out about Ryder being elderly and sick, and they're lying about his age, was extraordinary circumstances where the city finally had to pay attention because of the outrage. I can't even begin to imagine how many other horses they've switched ages on, elderly, sick horses they work to death.